The commentary in question suggests that herbicides are caught up in the fat of animals. And the reason why I don't want to push that particular agenda, because I'm promoting affordable meat, and if one would suggest that there's a very high percentage of people dying currently from ingesting herbicide that is found in beef fat that is finished off on grains that perhaps had contact with herbicide or pesticide, it would be completely false. We don't see people drop dead from ingesting meat or fatty meat that the cattle were finished off on grains. What we do see is people are dying from type 2 diabetes complications. What we do see is people are dying from obesity complications, etc. Those are the things that we need to focus on. So in this video that is attached, you hear me explain the difference between grass-fed and grain-finished beef. Also to consider is, when you are following a Western type diet and you are eating vegetables and fruit, you are ingesting herbicide and pesticide as well, because the farmers are mixing the herbicide and pesticides with a sticky substance so that rain can't wash it off. And even though you wash your fruit and your vegetables, you still ingest that pesticides. And some people even claim that the herbicide gets into the skin of the fruit and the vegetable. So if you eat a beef diet, regardless if it's finished grain or grass, the animal still filter whatever it was ingesting. So you don't get that first direct hit of whatever was on the plant. So on the carnivore diet, we don't eat plants, so we completely eliminate the herbicide, pesticide direct influence, which is very hard to eliminate when you are ingesting plants. What about free-range meats? What about free-range eggs? Is it better than grain-fed chickens that laid eggs and beef that were finished off on grain or were fed grain mostly? Yes, I think that it's definitely better if you can have free range, if you can afford free range meat, and free range eggs is not so expensive. But the question is, how much better is it? And my doctors, the carnivore doctors, talk about it, and they say that yes, it is better, but it's not that much better. It's not like it's 40% better than grain-finished beef. So it might be a small percentage, like maybe 2% better or 1% better. That is the difference in the end. The same applies to hormones. Hormones that are injected into cattle, which is estrogen. I've got a video on my frequently asked question playlist on my YouTube channel. It's question 14, Q14, and it's about hormones that are injected into cattle to make them grow. And the question was asked whether meat that is injected with these hormones are so bad for you. So I'm not going to talk about that right now. Go and watch the video. Follow me on YouTube on my frequently asked question playlist. So this question will also be posted on my frequently asked question playlist, will be question number 32. So yeah, so free range is better, but it's not that much better. The price that you pay for grain finished or beef versus grass finished beef can sometimes be higher, but not always. Farm Fresh SA, for instance, supply grass-fed beef at the same price, basically, as grain-finished beef, which is great. You can look them up. Yeah, so my doctor has podcasts. For instance, Dr. Sean Baker has got a podcast, Human Performance Outliers. If you go to my blog, video number 36 on my blog is the interview that Dr. Sean Baker has with someone, and that, if you follow that link, you'll find the Human Performance Outliers on YouTube. But he's also got a podcast about it, and he often talks to farmers and people in agriculture and dietitians and nutritionists and sports people, professionals that are following the carnivore diet. And then they talk about things like, for instance, grass finished versus grain finished. And they talk to scientists as well. But the difference is not that big. But what Dr. Sean Baker say, if you can afford grass-fed, it is better, or what we call free range. But grain finished is just as good. So the difference is not that big. If you look at, for instance, the problems that you get with a high carbohydrate diet, you know, like type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance, and all these problems that we are solving with the carnivore diet. If you compare those kinds of problems, like metabolic syndrome, for instance, video 62 on my blog, those are the real problems that we should be focusing on. What are we solving with the carnivore diet? Even if we are eating meat that is grain finished, like I'm doing. I've been eating on the carnivore diet for 3 years on the cheapest meat that I can find. I currently buy for 89 Rand per kilo C-grade club steaks at Wildcon. So I buy very cheap meat because it must be sustainable for me. I want to promote a sustainable diet. So if you compare that versus not solving those problems, not reversing type 2 diabetes, not reversing metabolic syndrome, not reversing insulin resistance, if you follow a high carbohydrate diet, if that is your choice, then I would rather eat cheap meat, grain-finished meat, and reverse the type 2 diabetes, reverse the hypertension, reverse the insulin resistance, reverse the metabolic syndrome. But if you can afford a grass-fed beef and you prefer that and you feel it's better for you, then by all means, go for it. So the point is, I want to encourage people that the carnivore diet is absolutely doable and affordable and sustainable financially. But if people are being discouraged by saying, no, grain-finished beef is so bad for you because the grain is somehow making the meat bad. No. The high carbohydrate diet, the seed oil diet, the Western typical high carbohydrate diet that people follow, that is what's causing type 2 diabetes. That is what has a 10.7 risk factor for heart disease. And metabolic syndrome, 6.0 risk factor for heart disease. Those are the things that we have to reverse. So I want to encourage people. So that is video number 84 on my blog. It was also commented that vitamins and minerals in grass-fed beef surely must be more than grain-finished beef. And although there is merit to suggest that, because what they are eating surely is better, again, as I said earlier in the part A of this video, the difference is minute. If you are discouraging people from buying grain-finished beef for the simple reason that they are not getting sufficient vitamins and nutrients in, it's completely false. Again, there are many people like myself that are eating grain-finished beef, and I don't have a vitamin deficiency. And yet, again, as I said in the part A of this video, we don't see people dropping dead from ingesting meat that has been eating grain that might be exposed to herbicide or pesticide. And in the same reasoning, we don't see people falling ill on the carnivore diet while eating grain-finished beef because of a vitamin deficiency. We don't see that. So the evidence for that is weak. So this is the reason why I am passionate about the carnivore diet, to be affordable and to encourage people that the difference between grass-fed and grain-finished is not that big. Like I said in the part A of this video, it's maybe 1%. And the science is weak to suggest that vitamins and minerals in grass-fed is so much better. The evidence is absolutely weak. And I agree, grass-fed is better, but can you afford it? Let me tell you a story. As you know, I'm eating C-grade club steaks, the cheapest that I can find, that is grain-finished. And I always tell people I eat that. And when I told a lady I'm eating that every single meal, she pulled a stiff upper lip and said, absolutely, she will never buy that junk. And yet she was obese. And she only buys the prime beef cuts, most expensive beef cuts, she told me. She absolutely, if she buys beef, it's absolutely the top class, absolutely must be perfect. That is her way of doing things. And yet she was obese. The point that I'm making in this particular video and in all my videos is people are making something small or making something big out of something that is small. What I mean is, yes, vitamins and minerals might be more in grass-fed beef, maybe 1%. But if you are discouraging people from buying grain-finished beef because it's cheaper in certain places, and you suggest that only grass-fed beef has the best vitamins and minerals that your body needs, I will say that it's false and it's discouraging people, and it's not based on hard evidence. What we should focus on, as I said in the part A of this video, the real things that we should focus on is obesity, insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, which we are reversing with the carnivore diet, even with the cheapest grain-finished beef. So those are the things that people die from. Metabolic syndrome, type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance, things that come from insulin resistance. For instance, hypertension comes from insulin resistance. People are suffering from gout from insulin resistance. But we are reversing it with the carnivore diet. So we need to focus on the real things and not mistake the small things to be the real priority. Thank you for your video response. Yes, I can imagine that cattle that has been on grass will have higher markers in their vitamins, as you have mentioned. You mentioned that in some cases 5 to 6 times higher. I suppose you talk about vitamin A, for instance, which is commonly measured. Just remember that your body can only absorb so much vitamin A. So to say that in some cases the vitamins measured was 5 to 6 times higher in grass-fed cattle, in some cases, than grain-finished cattle, I can believe that. But that does not make it 5 to 6 times better than grass-fed beef or grain-finished beef. To say that will be discouraging to many people, because many people can't afford grass-fed beef. As I said in the video that you responded to, my doctors say that yes, grass-fed beef is better, but it's not 5 to 6 times better than grain-finished beef. It's maybe 1 or 2% better than grain-finished beef. But like I said, there may be higher vitamins in the measurements, in the macros that you are referring to. It makes sense, but it does not make the meat 5 to 6 times better. That will be discouraging. I'm going to attach a video to this video where I congratulate somebody for losing 28 kilos with the carnivore diet in 3 weeks that he needed to lose. Imagine if that person were told, no, you can't do it unless you do it on grass-fed beef, because grass-fed beef absolutely is 5 to 6 times better than grain-finished. This is the reason why I make this video, and that's what I say. I follow my doctors, you can follow your doctors, and you can do your own research as you do. I've done my research and I continue to do my research, and I'm often wrong. Please help me if I'm wrong, and when I'm wrong, the guys on TikTok know that I will make an apology video if you point me to the contrary, because we are here to help each other. We are here to saving lives. Like the gentleman in question that I attached this video to, he's busy saving his own life. 28 kilos down in 3 weeks with the carnivore diet. And I agree with you that cattle that had the chance to be in the field, even if they are grain-fed, like the C grade that I was referring to, that you were talking about as well, in South Africa, it would be better to consume that type of meat than A grade. A grade is anyway more expensive than C grade, so we do agree on that point. And again, if you can afford grass-fed beef, by all means do it. But if you can't get it affordably, the cheapest grain-finished beef would be better than a high carbohydrate seed oil diet that will make you insulin resistant, cause you to be metabolically ill, cause you to be obese, cause you to get type 2 diabetes, etc., which we are reversing with the carnivore diet on the cheapest grain finished beef. know, congratulations, 28 kilos in 9 weeks. Well done. Somebody's going to be inspired and check out the carnivore diet. Click my photo profile and find my blog link, as well as my frequently asked question playlist on my YouTube channel, How to Start the Carnivore Diet. I'm busy building a frequently asked question playlist here on TikTok as well. You'll see the frequently asked question playlist when you click the photo profile. Well done. And remember, for those who are struggling to lose weight, it's not about the kilos, it's about how you feel. And I believe Hano feels great, and energy levels picking up, blood pressure should be sorted out by now, or at least a lot better. I reversed my own hypertension within 2 months with the carnivore diet. Insulin resistance is the cause of most hypertension. The kidneys control, of course, the salt, and the salt retention goes up when you are insulin resistant. Q26, question 26 on my blog, on my frequently asked question playlist on my YouTube channel. It's about hypertension, how to reverse hypertension. Video number 92 on my blog, carnivoreway.blogspot.com. The link to that is on this photo profile. Is about healthy at any size. Obesity has a 4.3 risk factor for heart disease. High insulin levels in one particular study shows that there's a mortality rate of up to 90% if you have cancer. And there are certain type of cancers that is associated with obesity. So absolutely, obesity should be abolished in your life. You should not have it. It does you no good. But Hano, congratulations with what you've achieved so far, and you inspired somebody. This video will also form part of my frequently asked question, or not frequently asked question, but my testimonial playlist. I've got a testimonial playlist here on TikTok where I post testimonies like this. Well done, Hano. Furthermore, in liver, in beef liver, or in any animal liver, there's a lot of vitamin A. You get also something called vitamin A toxicity if you eat too much liver. So of course we know in liver especially, and in the organs, are a lot of nutrients and minerals and vitamins. So if one need to up your vitamins or nutrients, it's always a good suggestion to eat nose to tail. Maybe not on a full-time basis, but it's absolutely something to consider. Some people don't eat organs at all. I've got a video about organ meat and should you eat organ meat on my frequently asked question playlist, nose to tail or not nose to tail, and there's a whole argument about that. Also, the recommended daily allowance, for instance for vitamin A, is thumb-sucked. I've got several videos on my blog where my doctors and the people that make the videos, the health professionals that made the videos, nutritionists, etc., talk about the recommended daily allowance, RDA. And the RDA, as we know it, for instance for vitamin A and other nutrients and vitamins, is thumb-sucked. They did not base it on hard science. Go and listen to video number 3 on my blog, Nina Teichel's The Big Fat Surprise. If you click the photo profile, you find my blog link, carnivoreway.blogspot.com, with 128 videos, as well as a link to my Instagram and to my YouTube channel. Just look for Kobus Kriel spelled with a C on Instagram and on YouTube.